Welcome to our podcast. This is Friends on Fire.
I'm Mike. I'm a lifelong devotee of financial independence. I even wrote a book about it.
And I'm Maggie, a newer convert, but just as passionate, especially on the intersection of minimalism and financial independence.
We're one and the same.
We are two like-minded friends who believe that talking about money with your friends and family opens the door to financial well-being.
The Friends on Fire podcast is about dispelling myths, building financial acumen, and sharing your financial independence journey with the people you care about.
This is Friends on Fire.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Maggie.
How's it going?
Good. You look a little chilly this morning.
I'm all bundled up. It is 45 degrees outside.
Which is cold for Atlanta.
It is cold for Atlanta, not necessarily this time of year in Atlanta. We have unpredictable weather at times, but it was really cold. My kids were cold. They were like wishing they had worn more to walk to school in. We were all just a little woken up this morning on the walk to school.
Yeah.
But the cold weather gets me in the mood for talking about the holidays, which is what we're talking about today.
Yes, I'm very excited.
What do you think about the holidays, Mike? Like, what does it invoke in you? Is that the right word? Invoke?
I think so. The holidays. Well, I know where this episode's going because this is our podcast. It is not about spending money, but I usually travel to go see family. Either we go to Germany or we stay here and our parents come visit us. But I think most importantly, I just like and I think I've talked about this before, the hygge atmosphere about everything. Lights, coziness, different types of food. That's what I really love about the holiday. Yep.
Are you a candle guy?
Yeah, sure. Sometimes, I guess.
I'm not really usually into candles, but I've been lighting some candles the past couple of days. My kids really like it. And I was like, I do actually like it. Like, it's kind of cozy. It's kind of hygge. I want to call it higgy, but I think it's what you said. Hygge.
Yeah, it all adds to the general atmosphere of coziness.
Yeah. Well, no, I agree with you. The thing I love about the holidays is that things just slow down a little bit. You know, we spend a little bit less time working. There's multiple long periods of time off between Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. And the thing I don't love about the holidays, quite honestly, is the consumerism. I've never loved it. And it's not even about the money. It's just about the volume of stuff and you go out shopping and there's just stuff everywhere. People buying things. There's people exchanging things they don't necessarily need or want with each other out of some sort of, obligatory expectations or traditions that we've always done. And I just it doesn't really align with what I find interesting and enjoyable in life. So I think today's episode will be interesting because we're going to talk through 25 tips to take control of holiday spending. Because if you're not careful, this can also be a very expensive time of year, and it doesn't have to be.
And if we take a step back a little bit, if you need 25 tips to help control your spending, you know that there is a societal problem here.
Yeah, last year I think we shared 6 tips. We did an episode that we'll link to.
Worse.
Yeah, this year, not everyone celebrates Christmas, so this is more about this time of year and all the different holidays. But there are 25 days, Christmas is on the 25th, so it could be a nice, connection there of 25 tips for 25 days at Christmas.
Is that what you really did?
No, not at all. I just kept thinking of things, and I eventually got to a, semi-round number, not even round number, but you know what I mean? Like common number or what seemed like a reason. It wasn't like 17 things.
If I was in charge of writing this episode, it would have been like one tip.
Yeah,
just don't spend money. Stay home.
Yeah, quit spending money. It would have been a short episode. We'd be like, okay, bye, Mike. See you later.
That's right.
So let's dig in. One thing to start, though, in the spirit of the holidays, we don't ask for anything really from our listeners. Or if we have, we don't ask for a lot. So there is one thing that Mike and I would really like for Christmas, since we both celebrate Christmas, from each of you or any of you that are willing to help us out here. We would love for you to pause the show, not now, because then you won't hear what we want. In a minute, pause the show and go into the podcast app of your phone and give us a rating and a written review for the Friends on Fire podcast. Let us know what you think of us. Hopefully it's a good review. If it's not, then send us an email and let us know what. I'm serious. If you really don't like something, like, please do send us an email. We love hearing your feedback. But a rating review really helps us in the whole, algorithm and everything that all the podcast app use. And it really helps us to let us know that you care about the podcast and that you appreciate it. We love hearing the feedback, and it really does help other people find our podcast. And so we know you don't owe us anything, but we would love it if you are willing to help us and put a little bit of time and effort into leaving a written review for the Friends on Fire podcast. We really, really appreciate those of you who are willing to sacrifice the time and effort to do that. And that's all Mike and I want for Christmas this year. Is that fair, Mike? You want anything else?
No, just some written reviews on Apple Podcasts.
Well, thank you all.
All right. So let's get into our episode, Maggie.
Okay. I was reading some things about holiday retail sales this year, and I noticed a stat that said that sales are projected to grow between 7% and 9% this year. And I was thinking about that in the sense of, be very intentional and thoughtful of, do you want your personal sales to grow that much? Do you want to spend, almost 10% more than you spent last year during Q4 or during, November and December?
That's Q4.
Or, yeah, well, I would say October, November, December is often Q4. But you know what I mean? So do you want to spend more, or do you want to rein it in, right? And just be a little bit more reasonable and be, again, this isn't just about money. This is about how you're spending your time, because if you're spending your time spending a lot of money, you're likely not spending as much quality time with your family, your kids, your partner, your parents, whoever you want to be spending time with this holiday season. And so, we hope some of these tips will help you kind of rein in your spending, but also just, focus your holidays on what is important to you and what does really matter. And, I know you were joking about the volume of tips. Hope some of these aren't going to apply to everybody. So hopefully you can take a few that are really meaningful to you and ignore the ones that don't apply to you. The good news is there's a lot to choose from.
And on top of the increase in spending that people are expecting this year, it's also going to be probably a huge mess, like every other retail and service industry in the United States right now. So there's going to be a labor shortage in most, if not all, of the stores you're going to be trying to shop from. There are supply chain issues which are impacting the availability of goods and the costs of goods. And so not only is it sort of a hectic and chaotic time of the year, it's going to be so much worse. So if you are an introvert like you and I, Maggie, this is an extra reason just not to go out and do anything related to buying stuff.
That comment, Mike, is related to our first tip. So let's jump in.
Okay.
Number one, if you're looking for deals, the deals are already here. So you can start shopping now, right? This episode, it's kind of mid to late October right now that this episode will come out. And the suggestions from a lot of people, because of what you just said, Mike, are to start shopping now, because there are a lot of labor shortages and supply chain issues with products. And so this is not a great year for last minute shopping, because there's a lot of predictions that prices are going to kind of go up on basic things just because of supply and demand, which has been happening already, even pre-holidays. So Amazon has already rolled out a lot of Black Friday level discounts. Target announced their deal days online. And a lot of people are predicting that things are going to sell out. So there's a lot of times where I wouldn't say shop early. This is one year where I would say if there's specific things you want and need, particularly for your kids, which are the only people that I really think should be getting gifts. That's a inflammatory statement to some people, but
wait, I'm not getting a gift?
No, you'll get something, like a jar of cashew sauce or
that works for me.
That Friends on Fire t-shirt I got you, something useful.
And speaking of cashew sauce, the next item is going to be shop local, because shopping at smaller local retailers can, one, help you avoid with shipping costs and delays. There's also going to be some availability issues. If somebody is making something locally, they're not reliant on a microchip being shipped over on a boat from China. And so if you like cashew sauce, go find a local provider of cashew sauce and go buy it from them directly.
Yeah. Mine is not for sale, folks, but I agree. I love shopping local and just supporting your local community and businesses.
Everything's for sale for the right price, Maggie.
True. If anyone wants to buy my cashew sauce,
Yeah, make Maggie an offer.
Okay, number 3 is make a shopping list, right? This is a helpful way to save money year round, not just during the holidays, but don't just go out and, haphazardly browsing stores, because you're going to be tempted to buy all sorts of things, having no plan for who you actually do need to give a gift to, who what type of things you need for them. Like, you're just going to start buying stuff. And that is a recipe for disaster and for overspending. And just buying things that you don't need and wasting time on stuff you have to think about going to return. And it's a lot of kind of mental and physical waste. And so, again, we really encourage you to make a list. Like, think of the people who you actually physically need to get a gift for, and we'll maybe give you some other tips to convince you to not get some physical gifts for people. But let's say, I am going to get some gifts for my kids. Like, I'm going to make a list and be very thoughtful and make sure I have, enough things for each person to open, and be very thoughtful before I just go out shopping.
And speaking of kids, number 4, think about what your kids need versus what they want. Try to mix in some needs into those gifts. So if they need a new backpack, if they need some new shoes, work those in. Don't just make all of these gifts superfluous toys that are going to be used for a day and then given up.
Yeah, like I always like to get my kids pajamas every year. It's kind of a tradition.
Which then gets handed down to my kids.
Oh, they do. You're right. Yeah. And I also I got my kids some nice water bottles this year already that I was able to get during a sale recently. And again, it's like something they want, but it's really something they need. So it's win-win. Okay. Number 5, set a budget for your gifts for people, especially kids, because that's when things can get a little bit more out of hand of like all of a sudden, there's even years where I don't believe in getting our kids too much stuff, but if I don't make a list up front or at some point in the process, I end up realizing like, oh, I actually ended up getting them more things than I think are acceptable or necessary for Christmas. And so setting a budget for how much you plan to spend along with that list that you made can be really helpful to say, look, I'm not going to spend over, $300 on Christmas presents this year.
And speaking of budgets, number 6, spend within your budget, not other people's budgets or their expectations. If you hear that your friends are buying their kids expensive things, you don't need to go buy those same expensive things or jewelry or cars or whatever it is. Buy the things that are going to be meaningful and important for your life, not someone else's life.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. When I said $300, I normally don't spend more than about $300 on all of my kids combined. Every now and then there might be something a little bit more expensive than we mix in there, but I'll spend about $100 on each of my kids, and they're really happy. And plus, look, we're a blended family. They have other Christmases at their other parents' house, and so I'm even more so wanting to rein in what they get as a result of that. But I don't need to. I know people who spend hundreds of dollars per kid. And I'm not going to compare myself to them. I'm going to think about, what makes sense for me and what I think is important. Number 7 is consider a gift exchange. So if you have a group of friends or coworkers or family that you're going to be with, that's a bigger group, and typically you might be expected to buy each person in that group a gift, like that's really, I'm a big, that's to me is unnecessary for adults. Like, I just don't think, I know some people really get joy out of that, so I'm not knocking that. But for me, I don't get joy out of that. That would stress me out to have to get 7 or 8 different people in a group a gift. A gift exchange can be a really fun idea. It makes it fun. Each person ends up only having to buy one thing and only getting one thing. You can do a white elephant style gift exchange, which is where you can make steals and stuff. Or you can just do a traditional gift exchange where everybody draws someone's hat out of a number. But consider suggesting that to whatever group might otherwise be thinking that they need to get everyone a gift. Often I find that is received very pleasantly by other people because they're also thinking, I didn't want to have to buy 7 different people a gift.
I really like the office white elephant exchanges. They're always it's inexpensive.
It's fun.
It's super fun. I mean, there are gifts that were traded my first year,
they're
3 years ago at this company. They're still in rotation. Yeah. We still laugh about them. I mean,
they're such fun memories. I agree. There's just a lot of, and that's what the holiday should be about, right? Is creating those memories, not the actual physical objects.
Yeah. All right. Number 8, avoid the season's quote unquote hot gifts. If something shows up on the cover of the Amazon catalog, which is brilliant marketing, by the way, avoid it. If it's really that great, it's going to be half off in 6 months when everybody forgets about it. But if marketers are telling you that it is the it gift of the season, do not buy it because you're going to pay way too much.
Number 9, tame and limit your holiday decor. So look, this is all about what brings you joy and what makes you happy. So if this is the thing that, makes you incredibly happy is to have a bunch of holiday decor like pillows, blankets, towels, tchotchkes, different nutcracker, I can't think of the word, nutcracker statues, etc. around your house. Like, I get it. I'm not trying to knock that, but all things in moderation, right? And do you need new holiday pillows every year, or can you reuse the ones that you bought last year? I'll give you an example, Mike. I have some holiday bathroom towels, which I don't really even believe in having holiday bathroom towels for what it's worth. But at some point I owned some probably 15 years ago. I put those puppies out every year. They're in the, I put them in the tote with my Christmas decorations. And they come back out and they only spend a couple weeks in rotation every year. So they've got a lot of life left in them. And, I think of the Higa.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say it right? Okay. Yeah. That you're talking about, which is that idea of kind of holiday coziness that comes from the Swedish people, I believe.
I think it's correct? The Danes.
Okay. The Danes. I'm sorry. Strike that. Not the Swedish, the Danes.
But who knows?
And yeah, we're not really sure. Like, Google it. Anyways, creating that atmosphere doesn't cost a lot of money, right? You don't need to go to TJ Maxx or Ross or whatever these stores are called and buy a bunch of holiday decor to create that sort of an atmosphere. And you can reuse it.
Maggie, I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure what your position is on number 9. You started with tame the holiday decor, but if it's your thing, go for it. And then you said, I don't do it. And then you said, well I do it now. And I think it's great.
I just have those towels. So what I'm trying to be cautious of is if that is your thing, right? Like if that is the one thing that brings you so much joy, I'm not trying to knock it, right? I'm just saying, ask yourself, does that really bring you that much joy? Or do you just do it because everybody else does it? And because you've walked through stores and you see all this stuff and you feel some sort of temptation that you're supposed to buy it and decorate your home. But like, if it doesn't really bring you any joy, and it doesn't really bring me joy, I just happen to already own these towels, then don't limit it, right? Be very limited in what you actually spend money on in this category, because this is the sort of category that can have you spending a bunch of money on things you don't need during the holidays.
Excellent point. Thank you, Maggie.
That's why you see me kind of waffling there.
Yeah. All right, number 10. Don't go overboard on holiday entertaining. So you can make an amazing charcuterie board from Aldi or Trader Joe's. You don't have to break the bank. So keep things simple, fun, and affordable. And the holidays are about spending time with your friends and family, not impressing them. And so if you're going to be spending time with those important people, they don't care if you've spent $500 on dinner or $100 on dinner. They are there to be with you. And that's the important part.
Yeah. And they just want good food, which doesn't cost a lot of money most of the time. Mm-hmm. Okay. Number 11, consider buying things secondhand or used. It's a pretty simple one, so I'm not going to talk about it that much, but think about what you are looking for and what you need. And if there is something that is used, like Mike, if I give you some old holiday pajamas that are lightly used and you were to wrap those up and give them to your kids, I think they'd still be excited to see them.
They are definitely very excited to see them.
So I think I could wrangle up a fresh pair of used holiday pajamas for you.
So I need your help with something here, Maggie. Yeah. My kids are constantly bugging me every time you give them matching outfits for me to go buy a similar matching outfit. Do you know?
You want to match them?
Yes, they want me to match them. Do you know where I can buy a adult male sized
leopard
pajama
onesie? Well, I mean, I think you're joking, but I do know places where you could buy that.
No, well, my kids are quite serious.
That's so funny. Well, it's funny. I just read an article. We'll put it in the show notes from Go Budget Girl about the best places to buy matching pajama sets, like adults and kids. Mm-hmm. She wrote it a couple of years ago, but it was a good article. I was scanning it because I don't usually buy matching pajamas with my kids. I just buy my kids matching pajamas.
All right, number 12. Get creative and make things like cashew cream
cheese.
Sauce.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just so excited when you said that.
No, it's all right. We both had the same idea.
Okay. What number? So I love your brevity versus me. Okay. Number 13. you can give the gift of your time. So consider making, one of my favorite ideas is like a coupon book, but there's other things you could give the gift of your time that doesn't need to be presented as a coupon book. But you could give your partner a coupon book for a massage, or give your kids a coupon book for like a game of Foursquare, or just stuff they enjoy doing that they can cash in anytime. And that's a nice way to give something meaningful that also feels like a present to somebody else.
And number 14, if something is too high priced to make it a reasonable purchase this season, or it is simply not available because of supply chain issues, you can give your kids a rain check and get them the gift later on. I'm sure you will be able to make them understand and probably make it worth their while. Yeah,
you could do like a fun way you present it to them, you know, like make a little certificate. Yeah, make a little certificate, and it'll make Christmas keep going, you know, much longer into Q1 2022. How fun is that?
Now that's a great idea.
And look, I think that's like a fun idea for like kids my age. If you have a toddler, that could create like some sort of tantrum where they don't really understand the concept of a rain check. So use your best judgment. Number 15, definitely leverage coupons, offers, and sales. So this could be anything from, you know, choosing, you know, the clothing you're buying for your kids from like Sam's Club or Costco, where they always seem to have amazing deals on certain types of clothing. Or just looking at like the offers inside your credit card app. So there's some really fantastic offers sometimes in my Chase app or in my American Express app. And it could lead where you actually decide to buy things or what you decide to buy. So maybe there's like an amazing offer on wine or some other store. And then you're like, well, actually, so-and-so really likes wine. I'm going to lean into, you know, this for my presents this year because I'm getting a great deal on it. So kind of look at what's out there before you make your decisions on kind of where you're going to shop and what you're going to get for whoever.
And number 16, along those same lines, search for coupons or discount codes before making a purchase online. And there are many apps that you can install into your browser, like Invisible Hand or Honey, which will automatically
I've never heard of Invisible Hand.
Oh, it's a good one. It's just like Honey. Really? It's the same thing.
Okay, I use Honey, but I like Invisible Hand.
I use both of them just in case some of them they might have different coupons available.
Yeah, interesting.
But especially during the holidays, try not to buy anything without some sort of discount or coupon.
I have a general habit all year where when I'm about to buy something that I just already needed online, right before I purchase it, I immediately stop myself and I'm like, wait a minute, I don't have any sort of an offer. Every time I see the discount code box pop up on the checkout, it reminds me, I'm like, oh, I'm going to go Google it. I'm going to look for where there's an offer or discount.
Yeah, that's smart.
And often there is. So sign up for people's emails, whatever you got to do to get a discount. On that same note, number 17 is when you're making those purchases, consider what you can get back from those purchases. So earning cash back, points, or miles on your purchases. So you can log in and sign up for a site like Rakuten, which used to be called Ebates, which I use. I think you do too, Mike. Get a little something extra for your purchases, some cash back. Or you can put your gifts on a credit card where you're earning points for travel, points or miles for travel, but just make sure you're getting something, you know, in addition to some kind of cream on top, in addition to the actual purchases you're making.
And number 18, something to do right now is opt into emails from your favorite stores to get notified of the deals when they happen.
My only warning on that one, Mike, is if you don't have any self-control, then don't do this. Because this is a great tip if you have self-control, because you will get emailed a lot of good offers and you'll be able to kind of wait till there's a sale. But if getting emails from companies just makes you buy more stuff, then don't do it. So it's sort of like when people talk about credit cards, right? If you can use a credit card responsibly and pay your bill every month, you should definitely be earning points and miles. If you can't and you know yourself, then don't use credit cards, and that's fine.
Yeah. So if you have some discipline and you know you want to go buy something specific, sign up for the stores that sell that item and see which of them come out with the best deal and when, and then capitalize on that opportunity.
Okay, number 19. This is a fun one if you can get your person to do it. So get your spouse or partner to agree on no gifts this year, right? So I do that with my husband almost every year. I mean, we often take a trip around the holidays together. But we don't really exchange gifts anymore for most holidays. And so that's a great way to save some money during the holidays.
And if you are going to get gifts for your spouse or your partner, consider gifting experiences over things. And actually, Britta and I were just talking about doing this with our kids, trying to mix in some experiences as well as gifts just to help develop that expectation for the long term.
Yeah, I think that's great. My mother-in-law every year, instead of a physical gift, will get us like a annual family membership to something in Atlanta, like the botanical gardens. We'll kind of switch it up from year to year, but it's great because then we think about her every time we go, and when she's in town, we can take her.
That's nice.
Number 21, for those who are keeping count, we actually covered this last year when we talked about 6 ways to save for the holidays, but consider less expensive alternatives to to things like Santa pictures, family pictures, or mailing holiday cards. There's a lot of different ways you can do it where you're not spending hundreds of dollars on a family photo shoot and buying outfits for people and all that stuff. Like, you could take a much more simple, casual family picture, and you could do digital holiday cards, or just keep your costs low and be reasonable in whatever you're doing in that category. This is the same category, though. This is the same point I would make about holiday decor, Mike. If this is like the most important thing to you in the world, like, I'm not trying to knock it, right? So spend on it if that is like what you prioritize throughout the year, and that's the one time you do a family photo or whatever it is. But this is one of the categories where I would challenge people to think about why they're doing certain things, right? Like, if you get joy from having that family photo and having it professionally shot by somebody who charges you $500 for a photo session, then that's great. But I don't get a lot of joy out of that. I feel like I'm doing something like that to look good for other people and to have something to mail out to say like, hey, look at my beautiful family. We clean up nicely. And, like that's what it means to me personally. And so I don't put a lot of energy into doing that. Like, I'll do a digital holiday card, which I actually missed last year. But I think that's where people can save literally, hundreds, if not over $500 a year.
And one of the benefits I've learned about doing the digital cards, which we learned from you, Maggie, because you were the first person to send me a digital card a few years ago.
I'm going to guess what you're going to say. Is it the replies back?
Yes, the replies back. Yeah, it is very hard. Like, when you get a card in the mail, like, you don't write them a postcard back. But when you get an email with a photo and a little nice note, almost everybody responds to these. And it's really great because you start up new conversations with people you haven't talked to in a while. And it's just a better reminder that those people are in your life.
Yeah, you actually get a chance to speak to them briefly. And again, like, people could text you when they get your physical card, but they often don't because they're just busy or, who knows what.
I've never texted anybody about their card. All right, number 22. We've been talking about buying things for your friends and your family, but consider giving back your time or money to other people who are in need this holiday season, and do so in lieu of traditional gifts. It could be a more meaningful experience for the holidays. Yeah.
So we, like, our children's school always does something where you can choose different people and specific gift requests that are in need and buy them gifts. And I usually get my kids involved in that process, but even kind of saying like, hey, we're going to, I just had a memory from my childhood where, as we got older, my parents started sponsoring families of kids that were, I had totally forgot about this, that are less fortunate. And they basically told us they didn't have I'll put it this way, they didn't have as much money as I have. And so they couldn't do both, right? They couldn't afford to buy us a bunch of gifts and some other family a gift. And they got to the point where we had what we needed, and we were like, I think were like driving and, had jobs and stuff and could buy what we needed ourselves. And they were basically like, hey, we're going to do this in lieu of getting you guys gifts. And we were old enough to understand it and appreciate it, but I kind of forgot about that. That is a great lesson for your kids, right? So even incorporating it into some of their gifts to say, hey, we bought you a couple less gifts this year so that we could buy things for someone who was less fortunate than us, I think is a great thing to do this holiday season. Okay, on that note, number 23 is remember that you don't need to spend a lot to be happy this holiday season, right? So we've talked about it, a couple of times throughout some of these tips, but avoid trying to keep up with the Joneses or lifestyle inflation when you're spending during the holidays, right? Just really do remember, like, you're not going to be any happier come January 1st, 2022, if you spent thousands of dollars versus if you spent a few $100s very thoughtfully. You might think you're going to be happier, but our point is the science suggests, is science the right word? Research suggests science suggests other things that I'm not going to get into, but research suggests that you will not be any happier. So focus on what's actually going to make you happy.
All right. And bringing this one home, we're getting close. Number 24. If you are at all tracking your budget, tracking your net worth, remember that you're at the end of the year and you want to finish strong. If you have set some personal goals for yourself, don't let them fall short because you overspent during the holidays.
Yeah, it's a great tip. Number 25. Drum roll. It's kind of a little bit of a post-holiday tip, but don't be afraid to return things that you get that are unwanted or unneeded. We actually did a whole episode on this where I think, Mike, you took the lead on this, but it was episode number 79, how to return unwanted or broken gifts.
Oh, yeah. It's a great one.
And just don't be afraid. Like if you get stuff, because there still is the reality that people just buy you something because they feel like they need to get you something, and you end up with things that you just don't want or need. You or your kids, don't be afraid to return it and actually, get something that your kids did want or do want or will use, right? Don't feel like you have to keep something out of some kind of obligatory reason.
All right, Maggie, that was 25 awesome tips. Before we get into our top 3 takeaways, which I guess was 25 key takeaways, let's do rapid fire real quick.
Okay.
Is there one thing that you have been waiting for an opportunity to buy this holiday season?
Oh, that's a good question. No, there is not. The only thing I didn't really even want it. My husband wanted it, was an air fryer. And we just got one like a month ago. And I know now you got the same one.
It was great.
You guys liking it?
Oh yeah, we love it.
Yeah, I never want anything during the holidays because when I do want or need something, I just purchase it for myself. Again, I wait a little while, and we thought about that air fryer for probably a year. Mm-hmm. But no, there's nothing. What about you? Is there something you want?
Yes, the same thing that we discussed this time last year. I wanted to get a new solid state drive for my desktop, but the prices were not where I wanted them to be. I really want.
Are they now?
Well, no, not really. I'm hoping they're going to drop for Black Friday, but it's only like $100. But I still refuse to buy a solid
state drive.
Well, no, they're like $160 right now, and I'm waiting for them to be $100. And I refused to buy it last year because I, for some reason, have in my mind that it's only worth $100 to me. And so I've been waiting, and hopefully I will buy it for myself this holiday season.
I like it. Do you need it for the podcast?
No, it's more of a want.
Okay. I'm not sure what you're going to do with this new solid state drive, but I hope you get it, Mike.
Thank you.
Or I hope Britta's listening and gets it for you.
She won't know which one. It'll be up to me.
I wouldn't know what to do if you told me to buy you a solid state drive. You would end up with like some sort of backup drive, like a thumb drive or something.
Yeah. All right.
So it's always tricky when we're doing our top 3 takeaways off of a list of 25 items, but it's more of a recap.
Right.
So the first one is just remember what the holidays are all about, right? And it's different. It's different for everyone. So we talked about what the holidays is about for us, but it might be very different for you. So just spend some time thinking about what makes the holidays special for you, because that should drive your spending decisions over the next couple months.
And number 2, commit yourself to a budget for reasonable spending on gifts and entertaining this holiday season, and then track your spending. Just because it's the holidays doesn't mean you should let up on this very important task.
Yeah. And number 3, we said this in one of our tips, but remember that you don't need to spend a lot during the holidays to be happy. You don't need to spend a lot during the entire year to be happy, especially during the holidays. So really back to that sort of why of what matters to you. Try to avoid keeping up with the Joneses and lifestyle inflation, which we should call like holiday inflation or something, where you're just looking at what everyone else is doing. Well, that's keeping up with the Joneses, I guess. But yeah, every year the holidays doesn't have to get bigger and better at your house, right? That would be lifestyle inflation.
Yeah.
Try to avoid that, because that's what gets people in some tough spots financially. I saw something I meant to mention earlier in the episode, which Target rolled out a buy now, pay later.
Dangerous.
Yeah, I know. That's the same response I had. Now, I will say we are privileged enough to be able to purchase gifts for our kids with money we have now. I do know there are obviously people who aren't in that position. I'm not knocking it if that is the only way you were able to get something, reasonable for your children. But unfortunately, I think a lot of services like that end up getting used by people who could make other trade-offs and decisions with their money, and instead are going to go into what is basically debt, right? That buy now, pay later feature that Target. I mean, it's a modern term for layaway, which is what many stores have called it over the years. But it's just, I hate seeing stuff like that, services like that, because I think they encourage people to make just risky decisions with their money, right? And get into debt over things you don't need. You don't need to get into debt over anything that Target sells.
Yeah. It normalizes the whole debt behavior for stuff you don't need to borrow money
That's
for.
a good way of saying it. Normalizes it. Yep.
All right. Well, on that note.
Okay. Can you cue some like holiday music?
I'm not sure I can find any that's copyright free. All right. Thanks everybody for listening. If you've been challenged or inspired by what you've heard, please rate and review the show. You can also subscribe to make sure you never miss an episode. If you have any thoughts or questions, we'd love to hear from you, and you can leave us a voicemail or text us at 404-981-3370 or hit us up on Instagram. All right, Maggie, this was fun. Happy holidays.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Happy holidays.
Bye.
Bye.